media company, Global Kid Media, or 14 years old now. And I started 2.5 years ago. I've done 1,000 interviews in 2.5 years, working to be that first kid on national TV as a sports sideline reporter. I want to inspire millions of kids that they can do whatever they want at any age. So that's been the goal. I started a show during quarantine and had some pretty cool guests on so far, just expanding to try to meet that goal.
So, Kelcey, you want to introduce yourself too?
I mean, you did a pretty good job. I am a host with the Memphis Grizzlies. Right now we're in off season, so I am just hosting a podcast, doing a few videos here and there, and just waiting for the season to come back.
Yeah, so, well, I'm sure, obviously we're going to get to the Grizzlies. I love Ja Morant. He's my favorite player already, so I like the way he plays, but we'll get into all that. But I want to start off with this important discussion, what's going on with the social injustice, and everybody should be talking about this right now, in my opinion. And I'm just proud of these NBA players and the WNBA players taking a stand and boycotting the Bucks. Kudos to the Bucks for doing this first. And what are your overall thoughts, Kelcey, on this situation? And what can we do better? I mean, not only taking a stand, that's a good thing, but we have to do more as a community. So what are your overall thoughts?
I think I've always been really impressed with the NBA and the WNBA in terms of being those vocal leaders in their communities, and in two leagues that are primarily part of the Black community. I think it did have to come from them. I know the Bucks kind of boycotting the game, there was some good and bads to that. I know the meetings, a lot of the players there felt like they were blindsided a bit because the Bucks didn't talk to the rest of the teams to talk about their decision. But I think it was kind of a game time decision for them, and not only because of what happened in their home state. They felt like they were the ones who kind of needed to take the stand there. But yeah, I think the NBA and the WNBA have forced a lot of the other leagues to kind of take a step back and, figure out what they were going to do for their part as well. So I think one of the biggest things now that we just saw in that NBA, NBPA newsletter come out is that a lot of the arenas around the league are going to be used as voting poll stations. And I know in America, like, some people are waiting like 8 hours to go vote. And so I hope that can be one way, and one big tangible way to, make systemic change, is to get people out and voting and make it easier for people to vote.
Vilan, you want to go?
Yeah, so I actually talked to Giannis when I was covering a Bucks game, and we were talking a little bit off camera about that kind of thing. And this was back in March, and kind of talking about how he broke barriers to come from Greece to the USA to play basketball. But in your interactions with some different Memphis Grizzlies players, have you ever heard of some of their stories of the racism they've experienced?
No, we've never. We have Tony Allen, who is a former Grizzlies player, and he comes in quite a bit. And actually just yesterday, he shared a story about what happened to him. I just think this weekend, he's talked a lot about, growing up and facing racism. And even now, he drives a nice car in a predominantly white neighborhood and gets pulled over all the time. But he shared a story just yesterday. What happened on the weekend is he was taking a flight back to Memphis. And he, for some reason, I guess, had switched seats with someone for whatever reason. And the flight attendant came and they're all wearing a mask, right? So their face is kind of covered, so you can't see that it's him, and didn't believe that he was in first class, and kicked him out. And he ended up getting off of the plane, and he was just saying to the pilot who came out eventually, I don't think that would have happened if he wasn't a Black man. And so he was just sharing kind of one of the most recent stories that he's talked about. But for current players, we haven't had the discussion. I also haven't seen our players since March. So it's been a while. I'm sure when we get back to playing and we get our guys back into our market and back into the gym, these are going to be discussions that, are going to kind of take the forefront. But yeah, I haven't seen them since March, so we haven't been able to have any real talks.
Wow. But Kelcey, I want to get to your journey now. When did you get interested in the sports industry? And I know, a lot of, to be honest, I'm talking to a lot of women in the sports industry already on my podcast, and you guys work so hard. You're such inspirations. And but when did you get interested in the sports industry, and who was your biggest influencer in that?
Well, I played college basketball, and while I was playing, I was in journalism in school. And then so when I graduated, it kind of just was the next step to kind of put those two things together. And then I had been working in Canada, just doing freelance stuff with the Raptors and covering the NCAA tournament. And then so this is my first year down here with the Grizzlies. And it's been really fun. I saw that you had Julie Stewart-Binks on.
Yeah.
She has been like a golden light in my journey. She even just, like getting from Canada to the States, she's been a really big resource. There's been, honestly, I know this sounds so corny or cheesy or whatever, but the women in the NBA or even women in sports media, there is like this club, and it is the most supportive club I could ever ask for. Like, we're all like, I came into the league and women around the league were sending me Christmas presents, and I'd only been here for a month.
Wow.
Like, they're so supportive and so awesome. So it would be tough to name just one. There's a whole bunch of women who I could spend hours just like thanking and praising.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I wanted to ask this. I mean, breaking like you have with the Grizzlies, doing really good there. Have you ever experienced discrimination as a woman to get to where you are?
Yeah, I've talked about this a lot, actually. I've been so lucky to have so many good jobs where I'm usually the only female in the room, but I never felt like that. I had one job back in Canada, and I actually only stayed there for about 5 months because of this, where like I would say an idea of what I wanted to do, and they would shoot it down, and then the guy next to me would say like the exact same idea, and they would love it. So I left that job very early. But yeah, I have felt it, and it sucks. But once you get into the right like job and organization, I've never felt uncomfortable or unqualified or whatever the word may be. I've been super lucky. And I also think when you work with people who know what they're doing, and like an organization with the Grizzlies where you have the best of the best, they're not threatened by women or their ideas or change or anything like that. So I'm just really thankful for where we are now.
So this is a two-part question here. The first one, what was the experience like working with the Raptors as a freelance, and then how that helped you move on to the next step, obviously with the Memphis Grizzlies?
Okay. I worked covering the Raptors. I didn't actually work for the team. It just got dark here, didn't it?
Oh.
It's storming outside, and I could like see the light not be against me. So I worked covering the Raptors for a couple different organizations. And obviously last year was really fun. Winning a championship was a once in a lifetime experience. So you're there and you're covering it, but you're celebrating it, and you get to kind of like experience this thing that not a lot of people get to experience. From the playoff runs to the parade, like everything was really, really great. I'm going to turn on a light. Hold on. And then what was the second part?
Oh, how did the Raptors experience help you out to get to the Memphis?
Oh yeah. Okay. So the Raptors experience got me, obviously like a lot of experience, and because it like all of a sudden, guys, it was sunny, and now it's like thunderstorming. Can you see?
Oh wow. Wait.
Sorry.
You're in Memphis now, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened to me this morning. I'm
the
in
storm?
Michigan. Yeah, it happened in Michigan this morning.
I mean, there's a hurricane coming, so I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. It was crazy though. Like, it was just so sunny, and now it's like dark, like it's nighttime. But because postseason went so long, I got so much experience. And then I actually had a interview for another team, not last season, but the season before. And make a whole long story short, the guy that I ended up not getting the job from with the other team helped me getting this job here in Memphis. So once you're in it and you make those relationships in the NBA, it's the same as that group of women. Once you're in, people start to like look out for you and like place you where they think that you'd be successful. So I think the main thing is just networking and making those relationships and staying positive and just working hard.
So you mentioned, there was another place that you could have potentially gone to. Was there something that stood out to you as well about the Grizzlies that made you really want to come there?
the job that I have with the Grizzlies right now is really, really open. So I have the opportunity to be very creative. And so the Grizzlies have Grind City Media, which is, so they have their Grizzlies media and then they have Grind City Media. And with Grind City Media, I have never had an idea be shot down. You know what I mean? Like they're really willing to let you kind of spread your wings in creativity and do kind of whatever your passion is. And so I've been really lucky that I've come in, and unlike a lot of other teams that kind of just have, their game day stuff or their social media promotion stuff, like we produce so much content here. And I was excited about kind of the opportunity to spread my creative wings and create lots of really nice content.
So the funny thing, you mentioned the Grind City Media. I reached out to them on Instagram to see any interviews, but no one answered. So I found your page and I found Megan's page. So I said, why not? Let me reach out to one of these reporters. I saw your work. You do an amazing job. So I reached out to you right away because I'm my goal for my podcast. My goal is to let people talk about their stories and their journeys, and you have a great journey and story. So that's why I wanted to bring you on. But my next question here for you. So I know you met, like I said, I had Julie Stewart-Binks on my show, and she's one of the biggest Raptors fans in Canada. And when they won the championship, did you celebrate with her?
No, I think she was there with who's the other girl on Fox Sports?
Oh,
FS1.
Oh.
I don't know. She has brown hair, and she hosts that betting show. Her name is like just gone from my head right now.
Rachel.
Pardon?
Rachel Bennetta.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they were together. They were there as fans, and I was working, unfortunately, so no, I didn't get to celebrate with her, but I watched all her Instagram stories, and it looked like they had a blast.
Do you also know Nav Bhatia, the super fan?
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah.
I used to work so like you guys in America have like the McDonald's All-American games. In Canada, we have the BioSteel games. So I was the sideline reporter for our BioSteel All-Canadian games, and the super fan was always there. And one time, because I've worked 3 or 4 of those games now, one time I was the sideline reporter, and my seat was kind of like, it was on the court, but it was behind the basket. And he could see that I like couldn't see what was going on, and he literally gave me his seat. And I was like, he's such an angel.
Oh, wow.
He actually, so I met him at the Hall of Fame this year, the Basketball Hall of Fame, and we were sitting together, and he was just constantly giving me great advice and great encouragement. So he's a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. Keep that. See, that's the network and relationship that you need to grow. It's perfect.
Yeah. So now getting to the Grizzlies team. Actually, speaking of Grizzlies, but I want to mention that you interviewed a couple of the players on there.
Yeah, so I've talked to Jaren a couple of times. He's a Michigan State guy, so one of my first interviews was with him when he was with Michigan State, and I've talked to his father as well. Those are a couple of guys I've talked to. I know he's a really cool, interacts with a lot of media and stuff like that. How have your encounters been with him? And even John, I'm sure, is a really cool guy.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, like when you're in this position, you spend every day with these guys. So they do get really comfortable with you, and you get to see obviously like behind the scenes and like what they're like, like I watch all their practices and then talk to them after every practice and every game and whatever. Jaren is, you're lucky to have interviewed him because he is the most outgoing, goofy, fun, genuine guy that we have on our team. So yeah, he's probably the most fun person to interview, whether it's after a loss and he can still kind of like talk to you maturely, which is crazy because he's only 20, but still have a little bit of fun, or after a win and he's just like the most fun, goofy guy in the whole world.
He photobombed like 3 of my interviews.
See, that's what I mean. That's exactly Jaren right there.
Yep.
So my next question here, obviously the Grizzlies were in the bubble, and the one I told all my friends and the people I had on my show that I had the Grizzlies as my sleeper team for this playoffs, and apparently, I mean, obviously they came up short, but I love this team the way they played. Coach Jenkins had them focused. I really love their talent, like Jaren Jackson, John Morant, Winslow. I love Justice Winslow, and the Miami he didn't really use him properly. So I feel like he can get used properly more in Memphis, and he fits well with this young team. So what is your overall takes on the season, and do you think they can convince any, like, I wouldn't say big time free agents, like the second tier free agents, to come here?
So my overall in the season, I thought they were projected to win like 20 games or 24 games or something, and they had met that their Vegas odds back in February. So they overperformed what they were projected or expected to play this season, which was great for them. I think we knew that Ja was going to come in and be good. He was the second overall, but I don't think anyone expected him to come over and be quite the superstar that he has become in both like scoring and his leadership on the bench. Like, he is like a second coach on the bench. He'll come in and talk to guys like he's not a 21-year-old kid. And so his maturity and his leadership has been really impressive. And I think this is probably the first like superstar that Memphis has ever had. So, him only in his rookie year, I think it only gets kind of up from here. As for free agents next year, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see the trades that the Grizzlies do in the off season. I don't know if they really need any, even in big or second tier free agents. I think they need pieces that pieces that can complement what they already have. I think they're going to try and build a team around these young guys. John Jaren, obviously Brandon, like these young guys who you can kind of grow together. So if Ja, Jaren, Brandon, Dylan, who are all under 25, say we keep them for another 3 years and just find those pieces to complement them, it's going to be a really scary team to compete against in a few years.
Yeah.
Already a very scary team. What would you say is one of your favorite games that you got to see this year that you thought they played the best in?
The game against the Lakers at home where we won was really good because it was the second half, like a second night of a back-to-back. Our arena was full of Lakers jerseys. I know, and it just like makes everyone mad. And honestly, we kind of thought like us, not the guys. I don't know what the guys thought, but we thought coming in second night of a back-to-back, we're tired. The Lakers are on a roll, like they can't lose. And then the Grizzlies come in and just like take over. And I think that was really exciting because you could see even all the Lakers fans that were in our arena kind of like leave midway through the fourth. So it's kind of a good feeling. And then obviously beating LeBron with, a bunch of young guys, it was just a really nice feeling.
So my next question here. So I obviously for you during this pandemic, when the Grizzlies were in the bubble, you were still in Memphis, right? You didn't go to the Orlando,
No.
right? So what's it like working with Megan and the rest of the Grizzlies crew, especially Megan, because she's another talented person. So what's it like working with them every day?
Yeah, so Megan is actually a co-host of a morning show that Grind City Media does. So every morning from 8 till 10, 9:30, 10-ish, she is co-hosting this morning show with another wonderful reporter, Jessica Benson, and they talk about the Grizzlies, the whole NBA, NFL, college football, pop culture, kind of everything under the sun. So I'm not necessarily working with them on a daily basis because I kind of stay on the Grizzlies side. But their show is great. They're both great reporters. We have a really good group with Grind City Media of a very diverse, and everyone is a specialist in something, and it's not all the same, which kind of makes, working together cool. Like Jessica Benson is the co-host with Megan for the morning show, and she's like a big college football person. Megan is like, she loves her pop culture, and she's good with, a bunch of different things. So everyone has their own little niche, and when we bring it all together, I think we're a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
Obviously, you weren't in the bubble, but a lot of time young guys get really fueled by the fans, really get a lot of energy from the fans in the stadium. When you're in a place like Orlando where there's no fans in the bubble, do you think that affected their game in any way? Do you think that slowed them down at all?
So I did a couple IG lives with our guys, like for our fans while they were in the bubble, and we talked about this. And actually, Jaren is one of the guys that I talked to, and he was saying that because our guys are so young, that it kind of played in their favor to have no fans because it just reminded them of AAU, and AAU was only 2 or 3 or 4 years ago for a lot of these guys compared to like someone like LeBron who's in his mid-30s. So the no fans thing actually they thought worked in their favor.
Well, but so yesterday, obviously with this boycotting in the games, and LeBron actually, when they had this big meeting, I think yesterday was 8 p.m. or no, sorry, yesterday morning, 11 a.m. And then the big meeting was 8 p.m. the night before, and then there was news that LeBron walked out of the meeting, and then they said they had to change of heart the next day to continue the season. And like these high caliber teams like the Lakers and the Clippers having a say in this, they wanted the season to end. And then what and LeBron's stake legacy's in stake here too. So what do you know the reason why LeBron had the change of heart? And do you think, I mean, even if the Clippers Lakers wanted the season to end, do you think they would have listened to those two teams, or they, I mean, obviously they're still continuing to play?
So from all the reports, it sounds like LeBron didn't walk out of the meeting because, you know, people disagreed with his vote or, you know, he wasn't happy or whatever. It sounds like emotions were very high, and he, along with, you know, a lot of other players, felt blindsided by the Bucks not talking to the rest of the league about their boycott and them not playing the game. So it wasn't necessarily, you know, like, I'm mad that you guys are voting something else or we're not going to do this. It sounds like LeBron went in and he was like, I'm here for the boycott and I get it and I understand and I'm supportive of it, but like, what's next? And I don't think, like, he's saying, like, I don't think the Bucks thought about like the next step. And so that kind of forced everyone else's hand, you know, like Orlando, who was out warming up, or the games afterwards, or even the games yesterday, you know, it forced their hand to be like, okay, well, like the Bucks are doing this, so now we have to as well. Not have to, but like we're going to as well. But like, what's the next step? So I think he was just frustrated at the fact that it wasn't as well thought out as he would have liked it to be, because, you know, LeBron is always 5 steps ahead of everyone. He's like the most savvy businessman who, like, you can never see where he's going, but when he finally gets there, you're like, wow, LeBron is brilliant. So I think he was just frustrated at the lack of communication there. I think when they got all back together and he had taken some time to be like, okay, you know, let's figure this out as a league and make some actual systemic change, I think he was a little more receptive, even though it says that he didn't say one word in the meeting. He was taking it all in and observing. And I think, you know, everyone's happy with what they've kind of come up with. And I think it's going to be a majority. I know the Lakers and LeBron, everyone jokes that he kind of runs the league, but if a majority want to play, a majority are going to play.
Now, I mean, obviously Milwaukee's just an hour away from where that whole incident happened. So at the same time as there's a lack of communication, it's understanding why they would want to boycott. On the Memphis side of things, do you know of any players who are debating whether to opt out of the season coming up for the regular season when the playoffs are over?
No, I haven't talked to any of the guys since the season's over. So no, I don't know about our guys.
So I do this rapid fire segment with all my guests to come on the show. But before we get to that, but Don, you want to do your segment? What you usually do on your
show? So my signature segment, I flip the switch, have the person I'm interviewing ask the media a couple of questions. So how would you like to do that? Ask me and Nathan a few questions. Okay,
how many questions do I get?
Let's do 2 each.
Okay. I'll start with you, okay? Ooh, put me on the spot. Okay. If you could next season have your dream job, and it has to be like very specific, team, position, what you're doing, how much you're going to make, what is it?
What I would like to do, I'd like to make Global Kid Media like, you know, almost a national network, almost like an overtime or something like that. So that would be one thing, is to have Global Kid Media as a main brand and be out there covering, let's see, throughout the whole season. I'd like to cover pretty much a signature game. So like a Thunder Lakers game or something like that, or Rockets, Clippers game, things like that. So those kind of games, key games around the league. As far as what I'd be making, honestly, I could care less. I just want to be able to have a platform where kids are seeing me and saying to themselves, okay, he's doing it, I can do this too. That's basically the only thing I would ask for is if I'm up there, can I have the platform so that other kids can see what I'm doing.
Okay, follow-up question. What is the next step in achieving that? What do you need?
So I met with actually CBS Sports before this pandemic started, and I met with Mr. Sean McManus, and we talked about some opportunities potentially with the NCAA tournament, which would have been within the next month. And unfortunately, then COVID hit and canceled all those things. So hopefully we can still do some things coming up as soon as this stuff is all over. That's kind of the next step. After that, my goal is to cover the Olympics and kind of be international, put the global in Global Kid Media. So that's really the next two big steps.
And what do your friends think about this when you tell them about your goals?
Honestly, I mean, I don't really talk to my friends much about Global Kid Media just because I try to keep it more so to inspire and things like that. I don't use it as clout or anything like that, but my friends think it's pretty cool, and I just try to tell them, like, look, I'm doing this. If you like doing something, you can do it too.
Awesome. Okay. Now I move on to my second guest. Who's been the funniest person you've had on your podcast?
Ooh, man. I had a lot. I think you're my 500 and something 30th interview since this pandemic started. So, I might have to go back, but I think all right. My most how about this? I'll say this. My most memorable one is Isaiah Thomas, the former Detroit Pistons.
Was he the funniest though?
No, but the funniest one, I think. All right, I'm gonna say Damien Woody.
Why was he funny?
I mean, he's obviously he's he's funny as a football player, funny as a former football player, and funny as an analyst. And he brought he brought it in the interview. So I would say him.
Okay, my second question is, which trophy behind you are you most proud of?
Actually, these trophies behind me are my brother's, my younger brother, soccer trophies. And
You're a fraud.
yeah, and then actually I think one of them is one basketball trophy here, but most of them are my brother's. So
That's funny.
yeah.
Okay, how did I do flipping the switch?
A+.
That was perfect.
All right, that's so now for my show, I do this rapid fire segment with all my guests. So you ready for this?
Yes. Wait, first off, does Global Kid Media have an Instagram or a Twitter?
Yeah, his Instagram is
both is just Global Kid Media.
Go follow my Global Kid Media.
Yep.
Okay, I'm ready for rapid fire.
All right. So
I'm nervous.
Don't. Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Wait, say it again.
Kawhi Leonard's laugh or Kevin Hart's laugh?
Kawhi.
But you want to go? You want to do?
What's your favorite food?
Chocolate.
So do you see? All right, who does John Morant remind you of back in the day?
Is there like a right answer for this? No one. John Morant's crazy. He's like his own weird mix of every point guard in the world.
Who is the most serious person you've ever talked to?
Like player?
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard?
Oh wow.
Okay.
So when you were in Toronto after they won the championship, how confident were you that Kawhi was going to stay before you left?
I thought he was going to leave.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
How about you? What was your funniest interview you've ever done?
I did a podcast this season with Brandon Clark and Grayson Allen,
Oh wow.
and I cried laughing so hard.
Grayson Allen is. I was talking about JJ Redick about this on my podcast. Grayson Allen and JJ and a couple other people are the most hated, college basketball players, especially from Duke at the time. So that was kind of an interesting conversation.
Yeah, Grayson still gets booed when he goes to like opposing arenas. And we talked a lot about that, kind of shaking that bad boy Duke persona here with the Grizzlies. So, but that we didn't talk about that on the podcast. That's not funny.
So my next one here, outside of basketball. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you this: what was your most high-scoring game when you were playing basketball?
Like high school or college?
College.
I scored 29 points in my very last game. That was my high.
Oh wow.
Wow. What would you say is your favorite number?
I was number 11 and number 12 in college, so between those two.
Man, can you hook me up with some Grizzly players for my show?
Right now, no, because I can't even get them for my shows.
Oh, all right. Can you hear me? It keeps freezing, but yeah, can you hear?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Is that it for the rapid fire?
No, you got more for yours?
I can ask a couple more. What is one matchup that you're really excited to see as far as a rookie player against a veteran player coming up in 2021?
John Morant. Oh wait, rookie next year.
Yeah, in the draft class. Yeah.
James Wiseman versus the Memphis Grizzlies. I think it's just going to be cool to see him, and I think Memphis as a city really loved him because they cheer hard for their Memphis Tigers. So I think that's going to be kind of an exciting one for the city.
Favorite music?
Like 90s hip hop.
There you go.
Firm, I know in the locker room sometimes players go at it. At least I think Jaren was going at it at the Final Four or in the tournament about dance moves. Can any of the Grizzlies players dance, number one? And if so, who has the best moves?
Oh my God, they all dance 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're always dancing. Jaren is one of the culprits. Ja is always dancing. Dylan is always dancing. Literally the entire team just dances all practice. Well, like in between drills and water breaks and stuff. So I don't know. I'd say all of them. Maybe Jaren has the best ones. I don't know. I don't know what's cool dancing anymore. They all look silly.
So for me, I got two more things for you. This is a question I've been bringing up to all my guests about the late Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and Mama Mentality, and the rest of the people that were involved in that horrific crash, horrible. He was one of my role models growing up, and it's still hard. It's so hard not seeing him here. But what do you remember where you were at that day, and what do they mean to you, especially Gianna too?
Yeah, I was walking. So I live walking distance to the arena. So I was walking to the arena. We were getting ready to play the Suns. And I got the initial tweet that said, Kobe Bryant has died in a plane or in a helicopter crash. And so I texted a couple of my coworkers being like, no, like say this isn't real. Yeah. And then I went on Instagram as I continue to walk. And one of our guys actually messaged me and was like, hey, is this real? And I was like, let's friggin' hope not. And then it got confirmed that it was real. And then we were texting with, all of our guys and all of our team being like, man, let's hope that Gigi's not on the helicopter as well, because that wasn't confirmed either. And I remember I get there 3 hours before the game to do hair and makeup and prepare and everything. And usually there's players out on the court and music's playing and they're getting ready and shooting around. When I walked into the gym, it was complete silence. There was nobody on the court. There was no music playing. Everyone looked so somber, and it was just hitting every single person in that arena so hard. And then I think there was talk about postponing the game. Yeah, it was it was something that I've never experienced ever before, this like silent arena and everyone just like no one making eye contact. I know people were crying in there. And then, you know, like a bunch of the teams were doing like 24 seconds and stuff. So our team did that as well. We took a 24-second shot clock violation, and then the Suns took a 8-second backcourt violation. So it was rough. It was a really, walking into that really quiet arena with no players was sad.
Yeah.
I want to really quickly ask this. I mean, a couple of days ago was Kobe Bryant Day. Obviously, what was your favorite quality of Mamba mentality? Like, what was one that you really tried to live by?
Well, so I'm from Toronto, and I was at that game where he scored 81 points on the Raptors. So I think something that I've had ever since I was little was that memory of him just like being so relentless and, you know, like never kind of letting your foot off the gas. And I think that was something that kind of stuck with me for a long time, especially, and I kind of use that in my career too, you know, like as being the first Canadian to ever work as a host with an NBA team. That was something that if I let my foot off the gas, it wasn't going to be able to be achieved, which is kind of like you actually. So I think, you know, having him show you that like you can literally do anything. And if you just like keep working hard and don't ever stop, like you're going to get it done. That's something that kind of stuck with me.
Yeah. So the last thing here, would you like to say anything to all the nurses, doctors, and essential workers?
Yeah, actually at the beginning of the pandemic, I was refilling my Starbucks card and putting it on my Twitter for frontline workers until I started getting backlash, which like I don't understand how you get backlash from that, but I stopped because it was crazy. But yes, I can't even imagine what they're going through. I have like a few friends that are nurses, and it just seems, you know, like we talk a lot about police and firefighters putting their lives on the line, but it's these doctors and nurses and EMS workers that have really put their lives on the line for us. And I know it's been hard, and they haven't been able to see their families for a long time. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well said, Kelcey. And there she is, the talented radio TV host for the Memphis Grizzlies, Kelcey Wright Johnson. Go follow her on Twitter, Instagram. And I just want to say thank you for Vidon from Global Kid Media for joining us today. This has been an honor. I'll be posting this on all social media formats. And you guys stay safe, and you and your family stay safe, and enjoy the rest of the playoffs.
It was nice to meet you guys. Thank you for today.
Anytime.
Hey, I had a question too. Before we, I mean, you can